I think we're good.
It's the internet, probably.
Probably, always the internet.
How's everybody? All right, all right. All right, I'm good to go. If you guys are good to go, it's right just about 11:30. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and start.
Absolutely, let's get started. Did you want to maybe start by giving us an update on kind of where the bill is and what you know so far?
I'm happy to do that. And the bill that has been active and alive, and as you know, there's a cutoff. And I can't remember if we've talked about what cutoffs are or how familiar you are, but the rules of the House and the Senate, and it changes every few years, but for right now, they set a cutoff of when bills can be acted on or not acted on, and if they're not acted on, then they would be considered probably dead and not available to move during the legislative session. So we just yesterday finished what we call a cutoff of bills that are from the opposite house. So this would be bills that maybe had started as Senate bills, go through the Senate committee, goes through the Senate floor, goes over to the House, is acted upon in the House committee, and then basically, well, it gets to the part to where they're being acted upon in the opposite house. So yesterday was the cutoff of bills out of the opposite house, so, or out of the house of origin. So you had Senate bills had to be out of the Senate over to the House, and then you had House bills that had to be moved over to the Senate. The bill that we've been looking at, because hold
on, Al.
Bill.
Hold on 1 second. We can't hear you at all. Hold it together, guys. You're frozen, and you were frozen for a second, and we couldn't hear anything. Now you're moving, but you were kind of like a broken record there. So we didn't get anything you said after talking about the cutoff rules.
So what I'd like to say is, in conclusion, this is no, I'm kidding. So bills that needed to be out of their house of origin. So Senate bills needed to move off the Senate floor to the House. And if they hadn't moved off to the Senate floor and were voted on, then they would technically not be alive and couldn't be acted upon if they were a Senate bill in the Senate. And the same for House bills in the House. Yes. So we knew that with the cutoff of Senate bills, the two Senate bills that dealt with this subject didn't make it out of committee, so those bills would not be technically available to move at all. So the only vehicle for this issue was the House bill. It had to move off the House floor by 5 o'clock yesterday, or else it would be considered dead, okay? So House Bill 1054, sponsored, I forget who this, by Representative Harris, was on the House floor, ready to be voted on, but ran out of time, and they didn't get to the bill by the 5 o'clock deadline. So right now, technically, you don't have a bill. All the vehicles, all the bills that dealt with this issue are technically not alive. They're technically dead. They're dead. So we don't have a bill to work on to be able to move it through the system. Remember, we had Senator Cooter's bill over in the Senate that didn't get out of the Ways and Means Committee, so it was dead. And now we have House Bill 1054, Representative Harris's bill, that got to the floor but was not taken up to be voted on. So that's the bad news.
That's bad news.
But Corey, let me interrupt for a second.
Please.
When the session is still going, when the session is still operating, even things that are dead sometimes become undead. It's a little bit like a zombie movie. The dead things come back to life, and it is possible that this issue is not dead for the session. Before I go into the reason why, do anyone have any questions about how we ended up in this situation or how the process works? Because I do want to talk a little bit more about it in a little bit. Is there any questions that you have? Are you sad that the bills didn't make it out of the Senate or the House?
Yes.
Okay, I am too. And I'm not sure I know all the reasons why it didn't move, but let me tell you what I have done on your behalf to try to figure this out.
One question, Al, if it was on the floor of the House, the Speaker of the House got to choose which ones they brought to a vote first.
Correct.
Which one trumped our bill? Do you know?
Well, I haven't spoken to the Speaker yet. I do know that at the very end of the House floor calendar, there were a couple, 3 bills that were selected before the 5 o'clock deadline, the cutoff. They started working on them, or they put them in an order that kept them alive past 5 o'clock. And the House really worked until about 6:30, but they were on some very specific controversial issues. I don't remember what they were. So they just ran out of time. And there's a lot of other bills that fit into the same category. But the Speaker and his leadership team made a decision on what bills at the end of yesterday afternoon were going to be brought up and which bills were not. Now, I went and saw the majority leader. He's the number 2 person in the State House of Representatives. And I asked him, I said, is House Bill 1054 going to be brought up actually tomorrow being yesterday, because I talked to him on
Tuesday.
And it's not likely that it happened.
Oh, you're gone again.
Well, they certainly are. You're frozen.
Yeah, you're kind
Am
of
I frozen?
Kind of. You're like moving a little bit. Now you're frozen.
Okay.
You're coming back.
You guys are unfrozen now.
Okay, you're doing a little better.
How about if I speak really slow?
That works a little better.
Or really fast?
The last thing we got was that you were talking to the majority leader. Oh, but you're gone again.
The majority leader, yes. And what? Well, you are frozen, but you can hear me okay?
Kind of.